Oh, hey, what's up, you guys? How's it going? It's Papa, and today I'm going to be showcasing you guys my updated deck profile for the current format. And it's been a long time since I played this deck, I will be honest. But as many of you know, long-term fans of the channel knows that this is my favorite deck of all time. I just love the versatility with it. I've probably played every version of ABC I have, ever came out. Mainly because I just like this deck so much and I just like what you can do with it. And even when they introduced links, this deck only got stronger because, for people that don't know, of course, the ABC pieces are just not once per turn, and they just do so much. So, I mean, I feel like the deck is still very viable this format. With the introduction of Revolution Synchron, this deck just goes crazy. The M-Borns are just so good. I mean, it's just so much fun. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into the profile, shall we? So, starting off with the main deck, of course, we are on 2 copies of A Assault Core. We are on 3 copies of B Buster Drake, and lastly 2 copies of C Crush Wyvern. I've seen so many different builds basically arguing like you should play 3C, 3B, 2A, or I've seen people play 3 of each piece, but so far I've really liked the 3B and then 2C, 2A. I just feel like it's been the most useful because B is just any copy of these in the deck. So I feel you just want to max out on B because it is the strongest piece. You can make the argument that C is just as strong as B for the fact that you can just keep summoning pieces from the hand, but you do want to play 3B mainly too because we are in a very big Bestial format with Dragon Link and Branded being one of the most represented decks of the format, but those are also the hardest decks to play against with this deck just because they do have such easy Bestial access. But if you're not playing against that, you should be having a good time after that. This has a good matchup against basically everything else, being Kashtira, being Manadium, Pirelli, whatever it may be. This does have a good matchup against all those other decks, but I do like the 7 pieces. I think it's just fine with the honorary piece, of course, being the Union Driver. I just think you have to play this card even though it's at 1, but you do want to make sure that you're maxing out on this engine. I just feel like this lineup is just too good to cut, so I think it's been perfect so far during the testing. It has been doing really solid, so just the 8 Union monsters for the main deck. Next, we are on 2 copies of Regulus. I just think this card is too good not to play as well. This card just does so much for the archetype, basically making the deck almost Nibiru proof, and then making it to where you can play around cards like Imperm, cards like Droll and Lockbird if you just get this to the field before you activate the Union Hanger, whatever it may be. But this card just puts in a lot of work, so I do feel like 2 copies is fine. You definitely don't need 3 like before, but you want to make sure that you see this card as much as you can. So 2 copies. 3 copies of the brand new Revolution Synchron. This is basically one of the reasons, if not the reason, to be playing this deck right now. Basically what this card does is just it gives you access to your Ancient Fairy Dragon, and since this is a big field spell heavy deck, you want to make sure that you get the Union Hanger as fast as possible, because Union Hanger alone is just a 1 card, 2-3 interruption board. So even with pair that with a Revolution Synchron, you just end on 6-7 interruptions. It's just so good. So you definitely want to play 3 Revolution Synchron because this with any piece is just amazing. And then last main monster we're playing is Destrudo. Now I get the whole paying half your life points to summon this guy isn't exactly too crazy that people are about, especially if it's in the graveyard because of Dragon Ravine, since we are again in a very heavy Bestial matchup. But you want to make it to where if you have the Regulus and you try to use the Destrudo, you could also use the Regulus to negate a Bestial to stop the Destrudo, whatever it may be. But this card does put in a lot of work. It makes it to where you can do the Ancient Fairy combo without the Revolution Synchron. You just won't end on a Crystal Wing, but this card does do a lot for the deck as well, so I do feel you have to play it. So next for the deck is all the field spells. We play 3 copies of Union Hanger, 2 copies of Colosseum, 1 copy of Dragon Ravine, 1 set rotation, and 1 terraforming to complement all these field spells. Basically, you want to open up any one of these to basically get your combos playing. And then the best part is if you open up the set rotation, I get that it's a 1, it's really hard to do, but if you do open up the set rotation, it turns off cards like Impermanence during your opening turn, so it's also really good for that. And then it also turns off Evenly Match as well for going second. It just does a whole lot for you. But of course, I just feel like these field spells are the most mandatory. I mean, the 2 Colosseum, 2 Regulus, I feel is fine. I don't think you really need to play 3 Colosseum because you have Ancient Fairy to search it if you really need to, and then 1 Dragon Ravine just to complement the Destrudo, and Union Hanger is just Union Hanger. So I feel like these field spell lineup is just perfect. I don't want to change anything about it. It's just been so good ever since I started playing it. For some just generic searching, I do play 2 copies of Tuning just to complement the Revolution Synchron, and then it's also good too because if you hit an ABC piece off of this as well, then you can help get your Regulus going early if you open up that as well. So Tuning just has a lot of good usages as well, and then milling a card to the graveyard is not bad at all. It actually helps you more than it doesn't help you. So 2 copies of Tuning. Next, we play 2 copies of Unauthorized Reactivation. This is basically like a great value Union Hanger. Basically what it does is you can target a machine monster on the field, and then you can equip a Union monster to that monster, and it's really good if you don't open up Union Hanger because you can just use this, equip the Union Driver, and basically get your full combo going from there. Or also what it can do is play around Dark Ruler no more, so if like your opponent Dark Rulers you, then you can chain this to target like an ABC Dragon Buster, or you can target a Regulus and you could just equip one of the pieces to make it unaffected by the Dark Ruler. So it does have its usages, and then it also makes it to where, like, of course, if you have a Union monster protected or equipped to a machine monster, then you can just destroy the Union monster instead, and then that'll trigger the Union monster, being able to just give you all kinds of different advantage. So Unauthorized Reactivation is really good. I just feel like you need 2 of it. You could argue 1, but I mean, you might as well play 2. And then lastly is the non-engine. I think it's like 28 non-engine cards. Or no. Whoa. It's 28 main deck cards, and then I think 12 or 13 non-engine, one of those. But we do put, I can't even grab them. 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird, of course, 2 copies of Nibiru, 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, 2 copies of Book of Moon, sorry, the glare is bad, and 2 copies of Talents to pair with a Call by the Grave. So this is it for the non-engine. Basically, like, Droll is a mandatory in this format right now, I feel, so you have to max out on 3 of it. You don't want to brick with too many, like, non-engine because, I mean, there are 1-2 card combos in the deck, and I will show you in a separate video combos on how to play the deck, but at the same time too, you don't want to like make it to where that's all you see in your opening hand, because this deck can brick, it really can, so you want to make sure you want to minimize your non-engine. So I just play the 2 Nibirus to complement that, because opening up multiple copies of it is not really the best, but you can also just discard extra copies for your Buster Dragon. Imperm is just Imperm, it just plays around talents the least. 2 Book of Moons, I was playing 3, but I try to keep the deck as close to 40 as possible. It is 41 cards in the main deck, so I just felt cutting a Book of Moon was fine to keep it at 41. You could honestly cut a second talent if you want to as well. I just want to have it for in case I do go second to help play around fields. And Call by the Grave is just for stopping Dimension Shifter, stopping Droll and Lockbird, whatever it may be. But yeah, I just feel like this non-engine lineup is basically perfect. I really want to try getting the deck to 40, so I think maybe if I wanted to, I would probably cut the talents if you don't like 41 and just go to a straight 40. But wrapping off the main deck, we do play 2 copies of Prosperity as well. You could honestly play 3 of this if you want to by cutting the talents in general, but I really just feel like 2 is fine because you are most likely banishing 6 off of your turn 1, so you don't want to get rid of too much extra deck. So I just feel having 2 was a good number for this card. So that's it for the main deck. We are on 41 cards in the main, no more, no less. I mean, it really should be less, but you know, 41 is fine, I guess. Moving on to the extra deck, we are on 2 copies of my favorite card in the game, ABC Dragon Buster. I mean, this card is just a powerhouse in itself. This card helps you play around cards like Skill Drain. It also just summons 3 bodies back from the banish pile when you tribute it. It's just so good. 3,000 dick, 2,800 ass. It's so nice. So you definitely want to play 2 copies. You could play 3 if you want to, but I found 2 was just the ideal number. 1 copy of Baguska. I mainly play the Baguska for in case I do get hit by something like Droll and Lockbird, something like Dimension Shifter, because then you could just summon this and then hopefully draw like some kind of non-engine to help play during your opponent's turn. So that way when it comes back to you and the Shifter or the Droll has resolved, then you can just sit or just go on the clapback basically at that point. But I feel like the Bagusa is fine. I mean, if you're not getting hit by Droll, you're not getting hit by Baguska, you can just banish this off of Prosperity. It really doesn't matter, but you want to have this as like a safety measure just in case. One copy of Ancient Fairy Dragon. I mean, I do play a small synchro package, I'll just show you. It's Black Rose Dragon and the Crystal Wing. So basically it makes it to where this is your star of the show. This helps you get access to multiple field spells. The Black Rose is there for going second, of course, because odds are you're going to be hit by a big old board going second, so you want to make sure you have something to either beta negate or help just clear the field. If you don't have, like, since we don't have Zeus in this deck, you want to make sure you have some kind of board removal. So I just felt Black Rose was just the most generic way of doing that. And then Crystal Wing is just Crystal Wing, because this with the Revolution in the graveyard can just make Crystal Wing, so it's just an extra negation, so why not? Just 3 synchros though. Then we are on Clara and Rushka for the links. This is the only link one in the deck. I mean, granted, you could cut this card. This card gets hit by Prosperity like 90% of the time anyway. This could be a Barricade board blocker. This could be Clara and Rushka. This could be literally whatever you want it to be, but I do feel like it's just there in case you need it for turn 2. Whatever it may be. Next, we play 1 copy of Lina, the Light Charmer. This is just good because all of your ABC monsters are light, so you can just use this to help climb into your access code. 1 copy of Platinum Gadget. This card puts in a lot of work too. You need this for the combo, so it helps you basically end on like a Masquerena and like a bunch of other good stuff. This card just does so much for you. Speaking of the devil, we play the 1 Masquerena, 1 copy of Nightmare Penis, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Access Code Talker, and then we play an Apollosa as well. Basically, the Apollosa is there for the Masquerena, because odds are what you're going to do is you're going to have your Buster, and then when your Buster summons out 3 guys and then you have the Masquerena on the field, you can use all 3 pieces plus the Masquerena to make a 4 negate Apollosa, and then basically from that point you're just plussing mad because you get all 3 of the piece effects, and then you're going to have a indestructible Apollosa off of the Masquerena as well, plus 4 more negates for your opponent to deal with. So that's really good. I mean, I feel like that just does so much for you. And then the last card we play in the extra deck is a Underworld Goddess. I mean, this card just does a lot of work as well. It outs cards like Dragoon, it outs cards like Psychic End Punisher. It just does so much for you. And then again, 2 paired with the Masquerena, it just helps you go for game from there basically. But that's really going to do it for the extra deck. I mean, that's really it for the deck profile as a whole. I mean, let me know what you guys think about this deck. I really do enjoy playing it. Again, it is one of my favorite decks of all time, and the fact that I get to play it again just means the world to me, because this is one of the decks that made me like actually get into playing competitively. Like, to be honest with you, I mean, it's been so long since I did start playing the game competitively, but the deck is a lot of fun. I mean, I love the fact that I can just go to this deck as all reliable whenever I feel like playing it, and it just is a lot of fun. And for new players, I mean, if you haven't seen my channel before, but you like the idea of this deck, I urge you to give it a try because it is just that much fun. But until next time, guys, that has been Papa, and I will catch you all in the next video.